Welcome, everybody, to episode 74 of Overdriven, the Odrl podcast. Special night tonight on a Wednesday. And I know it's not usually on a Thursday night, so appreciate everybody for tuning in. Uh, Obviously, the big news a little later once we get co owner Iron Man in here with me. But as always, joined by Hendrik. What up, Hendrik?
What's going on, everybody?
Um, this week was definitely interesting to say the least. Um, I think NXT was really, really good. I think Chuck's was really, really good as a Kansas race, and NXT was a good Kansas race. Premier, on the other hand, was a different story. Wasn't happy at all with how it turned out, how the finish ended up, how anything ended up. Um, I'll talk more deeply into it once we have the state of the league in a few. But Hendrik, I'll ask you, what was your thoughts on the Kansas Premier race?
My opinions on it, I would say that, at first I would give Premier credit. We had a decent run during the last stage, but once we had that last caution, I think everyone's patience went out the window and we started seeing those mistakes that we had even saw at Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think a lot of us were really thinking about another possibility that was going to happen with the Kansas race, but that didn't happen. And instead, something new popped up. So now, we have multiple championship guys that are getting affected by these incidents, and I noted it yesterday, none of the championship four guys even got a top 10 finish. They all finished towards mid pack or at the very end of the pack. So I'm a little concerned as to how much they're going to be affected for the next two races. My race wasn't terrible, but I can understand why it was bad for the championship guys and for a good chunk of the lobby.
Yeah, it was definitely I wouldn't say miserable experience. It wasn't like a Rockingham NXT experience. It was a above average. It was pretty mid. The racing itself, I think, was really, really good. When we are able to get that green flag run at the third stage. But that's two races in a row where a late race caution that was probably wasn't needed affected a lot of people that didn't need to be affected because of a caution with probably 15th or place on. Um, but as they stated, driver stated, top 10 was pretty much a good race in general. It was more 10th through 27th was a clusterfuck, as people would say. Um, it's just one of those things where it's got to be fixed. That series, it's two races in a row where drama is filled with the series, and it's not needed at all. It's been filling up general chat. It's like I was like, all right, you all have to chill. You still have an opportunity. I understand the three car incident. I understand being upset about that, but there's a lot of things said they shouldn't have been said. There's a lot of things that have been building up for a whole season that you're like, people don't belong type stuff. People don't, you don't deserve your spot. It's like desperation happens when you put people against the wall, and I think that's what reared its ugly head in that last restart with that three car, bubbling the 24 into the wall, which caused the one car to stack up and come hit the I don't know what third place car into the 24, which turned the 24, which resulted in the one car wrecking off the 12 car, the 22, I forget which one it was. And then, that's two playoff drivers, Final Four drivers who are having an issue and don't get to finish good and are looking back and saying, there goes our championship run. Luckily, it wasn't a old style playoff where that was a championship race. It's a chance where they can redeem themselves in the next 2 weeks and have a fighting chance. But overall, it wasn't a good experience. It's premiere. Hold on. Premiere is better than what they did by a long shot. They showed it the first half of the season, the regular season mostly. Um, but they got it to be better. What do you got, Zobel?
So someone that comes in and out of racing a lot, and has done multiple different games and stuff like that, where I race on different leagues and stuff. Sometimes, the way I look at it, sometimes you're not the fastest person on the track, and that is okay. But
Mm-hmm.
that does not mean you got to race everybody as hard as possible to gain positions, because not only are you going to hurt them, you're going to end up hurting yourself worse in the long run. Sometimes it's better to play it safe and take it easy, and you'll actually end
Mm-hmm.
up gaining more doing that. But a lot of people don't have that willingness to give any in the Premier Series because it's kind of cutthroat up there, and that
Yeah.
does cause some issues sometimes.
Yeah, it's become a lot of. It's been cutthroat through the season. I think it. I think it. I'm not going to. I'm not here to use the podcast to bash people or anything, but it takes a lot. A certain number of people who like to let their voices be heard and how they feel about other drivers, and it doesn't help the series when you have people like that. You're for me, it's to propel them up, not shoot them down. It's not looking at the stats every week saying, "Oh, you don't have a top 10. You don't belong in Premiere. You don't belong up here in a restart. You don't belong here." Um, I full blame on the 3 car there. It's full blame on him. I don't take that. I don't take that. It's not on 24. It's not on the 1 car. I think it's full blame on the 3 car there. But when you put somebody in that desperate situation of having to prove themselves and thinking that might be their only chance to save themselves in that series, because the rumblings with that driver have been, oh, he doesn't belong in Premier Series. Maybe he should be in NXT. Maybe he should be out of the ride that he's currently in, which got announced 2 weeks ago that he's not in that team anymore. It's going to an affiliate. So it's a little desperation there. It's more like I need the series top drivers to start building people up and not getting them down. The whole talk about sub drivers not being there, shouldn't be there, and that kind of stuff. I understand their points. I understand, but they weren't the issue. There wasn't cautions for sub drivers. Was there aggressive on everybody? Like, everybody, every single person in the lobby showed way too much aggression at times. It was the best drivers in the series, the cleanest driver of the series, had an instance of over aggression, over issues. It happens. It wasn't, well, maybe it wasn't a caution, but it was still like over aggressive. Um, and that's still something that's got to be fixed in the Premier Series. NXT can have that label because the lower series, and that's fine. And trucks can have that label, but when you're Premier drivers, you have a right and a job to be better than what you have been portrayed to be, and build everybody up. As I told everybody in the separate chats, it's like y'all have a job. You are this, you are that. There's no reason for a Premier driver to knock down a truck driver and say you don't belong here. That's for us to decide, not for you to decide. That's for us to decide. It's our job, not your job to decide. It's for our job. Respectfully, for the sub drivers, it's on the team owners. We approve a list of who's approved to run a race. If you don't feel like they deserve to be on a ride, go tell the team owner who puts them in a ride, because it's on them to put them. We don't put them in cars as owners, as league owners or admins. Team owners put them in cars. So if you don't feel like a driver is in a car they don't deserve to be in, you go tell the team owner, or go tell somebody they don't belong there. There's a driver who I don't think has had any issues this whole season, and he hasn't been in a team car for most of the season. He's been in an 84 car. That's Hendrick. I don't think he's been in any issues whatsoever. I think he had one thing over aggression Monday, and that was pretty much it. But it wasn't a caution. And people have been saying about that. It's like you let us decide that, not you decide that. It's not your decision to make, it's our decision to make. If that hinders the racing, we will see it and we will handle it. We handled it with Pumps. No offense to Pumps, but he was off the premier list. We handled it with Taterhead. We handled it with certain drivers. Respectfully, we handle it privately. It just has to be better. It's on the premier drivers to be better and set the example for everybody else. Not bring people down. I understand that there's a lot of enticing stuff being said from truck drivers and NXT drivers about comparing the series. But we have to bring that down a lot of notches and say we are all one league. We are all one league that shouldn't be fighting in an inner series war, fighting for the badge, the NXT badge, the premier little badge we have besides our name, the truck badge. We are all one series. We are all developing into the job is to get up there to get. I understand if you feel like some premier drivers don't belong in premier and it should be flip-flopped, that's fine. Let the team owners, let the league owners decide that. We decide that, not drivers, and don't be public about who you feel, because that only brings people down and put them in the situation we had Monday, where the 3 car was in a desperation mode. Also, you can go back the week before with the 1 car being, in my opinion, desperate for a win because he's feeling it from the other drivers, hearing about the other drivers saying he can't win. It's all season. His team can win, but he can't win. So it put him in a desperate situation where, I'm going to have to make an aggressive move here. Not intentionally, in my opinion, but he made an aggressive move on the, I forget what number it's Sean, 11 car, and which resulted in drama at the end of the Vegas race. So it's one of those things where everybody is going to have to take a step up and take a look in the mirror, where it's like you have to be better at bringing people up and not putting them down. I understand this is a competition. And I understand this is a league. At the end of the day, it's a video game. We're here to have fun, not here to bring people down, not here to bash people for their performances, not here to do this. The league owners will decide who belongs here, who belongs where. Team owners can have that discretion as well, but we still have the right to determine if they belong there. We did it with Pumps and Premier. We were like, we don't think Pumps belongs here. We said it. We talked to the team owner about it. It's one of those things where you let us decide. We'll take the brunt of it. We always do. But we have to be better. It takes position 1 of the points, position 30th in points to be like, okay, let's be better. Be better on track. Show more respect. Show the other series why you're the top series, why you belong to be the top series, not because of speed, but by being clean, by showing the respect of your fellow drivers, by showing the interest of the series, showing up last second of the race after qualifying and saying, okay, it's time for me to race. After you're done at a pit, after you're out of the playoffs, so you're half effort, not caring, showing up after qualifying, starting last, and then running through the field, putting people on walls, and then realizing, you don't have the speed for it because you didn't put the time and effort into it, and then leave during the race after being called out multiple times for like the 4th time this season as a full-time driver. It's just not called for. It's just like you got to be better. You have to be. It's all on you. You have to put the time and effort. If you don't put the time and effort in, you don't belong. I'm sorry to say that, but if you don't put the time and effort into the league, you don't belong. If you want to put the time and effort into a lower series and you think you need a better at that, that's something to talk to me, Iron Man, any team owner about. But you're gonna have to put the time and effort into this league to be where you want to be in this league, and we don't want to put people in where they're going to struggle. Again, Truck Series was developmental. The only time we would move somebody up if they were dominating that series, and they need to be moved up because of speed speed wise. EXO is a perfect example of a truck driver didn't dominate the series. Is a championship contender. Well, I think will always be a championship contender in the series, but he didn't dominate, and he's not required to move up. The only people who would be required to move up is if you were dominating the series and needing a bigger competition in the series above, and not having trucks become second place to you because you are above speed wise, competition wise. That was the only thing. Arca's the same. Arca's become that now. Trucks has become more stronger competition wise as we get a little more veterans down into that series who haven't really cut out for NXT, who hasn't been really cut out for Premier. So yeah, that's where I'm really at now. I know I've begun on a tangent that I was gonna wait for 20 minutes.
Well, Iron Man
yeah,
is here on a side note.
Yeah, he is. Nick, I'll give it to you. What is your thoughts on the Premier Series versus the other series, and how we can fix that?
Good evening, gentlemen. To me personally, I don't know if there's really anything to fix per se. I think it's more of a I don't want to say patience because patience isn't the right word, but when at the end of the day we talk so highly of the Premier Series drivers, we talk so highly of the Premier Series in general that when we get into crunch time of the playoffs, especially with the lead that I think Stein has had, and Sterlo for that matter too, when you're in the middle of a race and you have a couple bad stages, like I know Sterlo had, that he felt like he was in a must-win situation, and him getting that win is going to give him the leverage to win what we consider is like the crown jewel of ODRL in that Premier Series. So a lot of it is competition. A lot of it is just we're all competitive people, especially the Premier Series, especially all the talent we have in the Premier Series. And that's obviously not a knock on the other series, but like when we're getting closer and closer to this final race, the competition level is going to step up because the championship four know what they're up against to get that title. And I mean, to me, this is just a combination of all of that put together. And I think what you said about the 3-car is spot on. Is he's trying to prove he belongs as he's looking for a seat for next season. So I don't really necessarily think anything needs to change. I think that this is part of growing pains and part of getting towards the end of a very long season that everyone feels like, you know, they still have some things to prove and want to finish a championship run.
I agree. I definitely agree. There's nothing like that we can say we can, but it's just like be better. Pretty much is like, all right, I believe everybody on the roster. I believe everybody in the NXT roster. I believe everybody battling for the NXT roster to become Premier. I believe in the battles of the truck drivers to come to NXT and be better. But it's like at a point where the drama is going to have to take a simmer down and say, let's get back to the real point of this. Let's get back to why we do this. It's a NASCAR league, NASCAR fun league. It's I always say it's the most competitive league out there. But let's limit the drama. Drama's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Let's limit the drama in the general chats. Let's focus on your series chats. Not let the general chat explode into something it shouldn't. Don't let everybody have an ear into a battle they don't belong in. And focus on the drivers who have a say in the conversation. There's a lot of truck drivers talking about the Monday race because our race is better. There was a lot of NXT drivers talking about the Monday race because their race is better in their eyes. Obviously, in my opinion, it was, but in their eyes, it's like it's always comparing, which I understand. We are part of that too because we always, as a podcast, was a thing as a agenda. We compare series and It's it's part of the process. But it's like, let's not bring each other down in the process of doing it. It's like,
I think it's more on us admins because I think we've both, and I mean, not to speak for Spartan and Impact, but I think they need to be included on this as well as, when we're trying to improve our series as we, as league owners and admins need to do. It's like sometimes the series get compared. I know NXT,
yeah,
like a lot this season, has been compared to premier races, and like the question we keep asking is like, what are you guys doing? Because of how bad some of the NXT races are. And I think that we play a part in that narrative, and that
mhm,
us as admins need to do better so that we can set a better example for the drivers who also then need to do better when it comes to those conversations. It's a two-way street,
mhm.
but I think it starts with us admins, honestly.
Yep, agreed. It's just like, obviously the comparison is with NXT when they go to Cup cars and they have to follow the same schedule as Premier. So obviously you get Premier drivers looking closely more at NXT because you have to compare, you know, strategies and all that stuff. So there's a bigger eye on NXT, even if we don't have a spectator mode. There's still people watching streams. There's still people this, so they're still being critiqued through that. And it's like, all right, let's relax, guys. Let's build people up. Let's talk it down. We'll focus on it when we need to. Let's get people where they need to be, and let us handle it. Let's not, there's a couple of people that I'm talking about. They know who they are,
Yep.
and it's like let's simmer down a little bit. I understand. I don't understand
There,
what was said
there,
after that race. It's like,
there
go
are
ahead.
three people specifically that just need to mind their own business when it comes to conversations about other series.
Yeah.
It's the same three people every single week who can't keep their mouth shut. They need to worry about their own series, and if they're not going to speak positively and just going to critique, then they don't need to be opening their mouths anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Agree. I understand everybody's opinion, but let's not be public about it. Save it for your team chats. Save it for your, save it for your personal chats with your friends. It's like, don't. There's no reason to be public about it. There's no reason to be. You have your opinions, and you have every right to free those opinions. But sometimes people don't need to hear it because it leads to certain stuff and desperation and that kind of stuff. So that's one reason why the Monday race was to the point where it was, because I do believe that the Recar has stepped it up the last couple weeks compared to speed wise, and I think he's hearing it. I think I've talked to him privately about it as well. It's like one of those things where, like, do you want to go down to NXT? And then like, no, I belong here. And then he says I have to show myself, and then those kind of incidents happen where, he interferes with a playoff driver leading a race, or being side by side with a playoff driver leading a race, and that mistake shouldn't it shouldn't happen. It's on him. He knows it's on him, but it's also on the 24 for not going personal shots after the race and blowing up after the race. I understand the frustration. Not going to deny the frustration about him being upset about his playoff chances and having to go from second place in turn two, then finishing 24th. So he has every right to be upset about that. And all the other playoff drivers as well, because I know the one car was also involved in as well. And I understand. It's just something we have to move on. It was a tough one. Kansas was a tough one. I think it was going to be a good finish. The last caution that happened, that's 2 weeks in a row, as I said earlier, that two cautions on a green flag run happened at the end of a green flag, at the start of a new green flag run to end the race. And sometimes it just doesn't need to happen. Sometimes it's like letting off. Both instances, I've seen both videos. 9 car, I think the 8 car was involved at Vegas. It's one of those things where it's like letting off. It doesn't need to happen. Crowding that much when you're in that position, calling a caution, it just doesn't need to happen in that scenario. It's let off point. You're not with 20 other cars where it's gonna bite you in the ass. It's like it's 3 cars in a group, and it's like you're faster. You can show you're faster in the next turn. It's not like so those things have to improve, in my opinion. Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't want to put it all on Premiere because obviously we said truck drivers are also involved in that propelling up and having their words and always comparing and always that it's one league, man. It's one we. I root for everybody in this league. I don't care if you're my driver or not my driver. I root for everybody. It's one of those things where if you do good, the league does good, we all do good, and I want to see it propel. It's been a good season. Let's not ruin it. At the end of the season, NXT even improved. Throughout the season, they had one bad playoff race, and that's pretty much it. And they don't get bashing from me. They didn't get a tongue lashing. It's like, all right, y'all proved enough where it's like, okay, you're gonna have a bad race, but let's move on. And they showed to Kansas and had a good race. So let's just get it. Let's just get focused. Let's get better. There's a couple of questions. NXT was very good. So for quick recaps, NXT was good. Trucks was very good this week as well. Tough tracks, tough races, and they're both really good. So shout out to those playoff Tyreek, and then who won the trucks? It was damn it, who's flipping my mind? Pumps, yes, Pumps. Yep, Carlos and Pumps. Both playoff drivers have won in those series, and then obviously Monday was a spoiler and Whelp Dang winning. So shout out to them for winning. He won't get talked about enough for his win. But let's get to some hard-hitting questions in this podcast questions because there's some good ones. We answered a couple in the chat, but we'll answer a couple publicly. After the incident in the premiere race, do we see any carryover to the final 2 races? I don't personally see it. I think the premiere series is pretty good at flushing issues. I think you might get raced harder by the person, or vice versa. You might have that issue, but there's no lashing out. There's no issues with that. You might have a different opinion, but
unlike the one that was involved in the incident at Vegas, the player who was fuck it, I'll just say names. Sterlo's much more mature than Sean is, so no, I don't think there's going to be any backlash on this. Not a child.
Which driver is specifically the problem for Premiere? Respectfully, as I referred earlier, the people who don't put the full effort into it. Savage is one who quits halfway during the race and focuses more on iRacing than obviously the league, and it shows weekly. And he put multiple people on the wall. Once he left the race, it got much more. It got much more cleaner, and that's when we had the long green flag runs mostly, because I think we ended on the green flag run all the way through into stage 2, and then all the way through stage 3 until the last caution. So he left probably middle stage 2, and once he left, it was pretty much clean after that until the end, the last 2 laps, which people can have their argument about that. But I think him, top of my head, B13 was one. I understand the speed wise, but it's just putting the time into it. He's just shown speed the last couple weeks. I'm hoping better track awareness for him. But I think everybody had an issue with the Monday, so I can't really throw anybody under the bus from anybody specifically under the bus for Monday besides the 3-car incident. But everybody pretty much had an issue Monday. It was every single person had a one incident or another, even though it wasn't a full caution fest. I think we only had 5 cautions, but everybody had a over aggressive issue, putting somebody on the wall, somebody crowding somebody faster tires going through a field and pushing people away, or forcing the issue when you got better tires, that type of stuff. So I think everybody had a that problem. Top of my head, do you have anybody on top of your head? No disrespect to anybody, but I think Savage is one in my opinion. P13 could be another one.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head with them, and I don't necessarily think it's a specific driver issue. Again, I think it's to what I said at the top. It's a competition and a little bit of an ego issue, I think, from everyone in the Premier Series, and I think NXT is the same way. I think when we're in the heat of the moment, obviously, we all can get pretty angry pretty quickly because a lot of things affect our race. That's the competition in all of us. We wouldn't be doing this if we weren't competitive people. So
Yeah,
I
agreed.
just think that comes with the territory.
Yeah. Here's the main question, because obviously it's a big settlement. It's a big discussion point, which we've discussed for fixing for next season as well. Premier guys such as Stein, Sterlo, and others like to complain about the NXT and truck guys racing up. Is this an anti-approval settlement that most of the Premier field share, or just these two loud minority? No, I think mostly everybody shares it because of competition-wise. You really don't. In my opinion, it's more competition-based than anything. It's like there's more people that have to fight, especially when you're fighting yourself for a playoff. So that's when it gets. We didn't hear about it until playoffs came around. So it's one of those things where we don't want them in the playoffs. Well, okay, we're not the ones putting them in. I said it earlier. We're not the ones putting them in cars. Team owners are the one putting them. We only approve them. Team owners are the ones who put them in the car, such as the two people who are the one who were the minority loud mouths complaining about it. Those are two people who put them in cars. So you can't be mad about it if you do it yourself. That's my opinion on it. Do I think it needs to change going forward? Yes, but I'm not to a point where it's an issue in a certain series where it needs. I from the playoffs, I'm very careful who I let in. Hendrick gets approved weekly, doesn't cause any issue. Rides in the back most of the time. If he gets his track time. He gets to see what everybody's doing, podcast related. He can see tracked. You can see tracks better. He can see this, especially when he goes into the booth. For when he's able to go in the booth, he knows how to tell a story better. He knows how to set the thing.
I will also add the wheel time.
Yeah, and he don't cause it. He doesn't have any issues. So if he's one person that you want to say he don't belong there, that's fine. But he has a perfectly reason being there. Other people were upset about pumps being Premier. I understand that. I took it away from him. Over aggressive at times. I understand, and take it away from him. But some people are gonna be in Premier. They're just gonna. NLS is a Premier driver. He's going to be Premier. He needs to know who he's going to be racing with week in and week out, and he have an issue every now and then. But he needs to learn and be around people that he's going to be racing with. You need to learn their issues. Nobody else in particular. Dusty's also a person who gets approved weekly and is probably the model citizen of that approval list. I would never probably not approve Dusty. He's probably the model, the person to approve weekly. He's a fast driver weekly. Might not be a top 10 driver weekly, but top 15, and then shows his respect to everybody else around him. And he's, a model driver week in and week out. Nobody has a bad thing to say about Dusty. But yeah, it changes weekly. It changes by NXT. It changes by truck. But again, we only approve them. We don't put them in cars. So, it's like practice what you preach about. If you want to get mad at us for approving them, fine. But also don't put them in cars. That's what's your opinion on it?
No, I mean, I agree. I think hard for me to speak on it because I'm one of the ones that races up, but at the end of the day, if you have premier drivers that are complaining about it, and most of them are owners using the same thing to their benefit, can't really say much.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like we're figuring out how to fix it going forward, but it's not going to change the rest of this season. So it's not like you're just being a dead horse about it. It's like you have 2 races, you'll have the approval list, you'll have the thing, and then we already told you team owners what the plan is for next season when it comes to sub drivers and what you can do with sub drivers and what you can't do with sub drivers. So that will help a list. And then Charter 40 will be more prominent, which will have 4 or 5 people weekly probably battle for one spot and compared to everybody getting a ride this season because of sub drivers. Also, my opinion, get your drivers to show up. You know, if you get your full-time drivers to show up in prayer, it would be fun. I understand. I'm one of the teams who haven't filled a car this season, and sometimes I fill a car, sometimes I don't. It's like, you know, get full-time drivers to fill the car. That's all I can say. There's a argument to be made that a team was given to somebody. Well, you had time to fill the car. You've had time to, that people have left. Go fill the car. It's up to you. That's all I can really say about that. But yeah, we're fixing it for the future. I understand. We've heard about it, the settlement. We've heard about the issues with it. I don't personally see the problem with it, besides little incidents here and there that haven't really impacted playoffs at all. The 3 car was not a sub driver. If that was a sub driver, full on, I can understand the settlement. But it's like you still got to focus on what you got to focus on. Drivers who belong there are there. You're driving around fast guys. You're going to be upset when fast guys are beating you on every other week or certain tracks, like a Blue Star, like a Copper. It's like some playoff guys are like, oh, why are these guys here now? Like, well, they're proving themselves in a hot seat to say we belong here and we want to have a full-time ride. Okay, that's what the rule is. That's why they're there. So yeah, even though I don't think they've had issues in the Premier Series to people for instance, but it's just one of those things where it gets in people's head a lot when more competition. We know it's competition is what you want. Let's see what else. Based on Holy's race team poll, what makes teams like HVM 715 and even ILM more popular to get over teams like TBR, ALTM, and MMM? And why do less people want to drive for these 3? I really think he's not here tonight, but pretty hit it. I think he is pretty. I think it's all hit it. I think a maturity thing into it. I think you can trust those team owners. Even I think when they see 715, they see Mets. No offense to Georgia, but they see Mets. When they see ILM, they see Nick. When they see HVM, they see Impact. Those are 3 head honchos. Even though we're admins, we still mature to lead you team-wise and know how to structure a team. Not saying that MMM can't. Not saying that ALTM can't, because ATL have won team championships and everything. So it's just one of those things. TBR is a brand new team, so it's like, you have fast drivers, but can you lead a team? Can you, when adversity happens, can you lead a team? Can you lose a driver? Can you make up for it? That kind of stuff. So that's the only reason. I don't think it was a bashing anybody per se. I just think it was a maturity thing. I think it's just who can lead and structure better. And not saying a team's better, because obviously you get fast drivers. It's going to show in the team owners, championship. And I pretty much, yeah, I think it's just maturity thing and, longevity, because ILM has been a longevity. I've been here from the beginning as a owner, and even though if I'm making a new team with somebody else, I'm still the same owner I was. And then Impact, being a real leader that I know he is. And I've seen the way he works with his team, just like I've seen the way Nick works with his team. And I can't, I agree with the settlement that they're a 1-2, and it's no doubt about it in my mind. Nick, you got an opinion? I know it's about you, but do you have an opinion on it?
No, I think you hit it pretty well on the head. And my answer in the question when we talked about it earlier was very similar. I think it's a matter of you've got someone like Stein who's still a new team owner that people are trying to see how his team operates, and he's done very well in his first season with the amount of wins that he has as a team owner. ALTM, that's always been more of a tight-knit group. I feel like Irish, even though he's a great team owner, I feel like he knows the guys that he wants to put in the seats. So I don't think he branches out that much. And the last one, which I've talked about obviously the most, is MMM. And I've had this conversation with Holy previously. So when I say this, like, he knows I mean it from a good place. But like, I feel like the name of MMM kind of ebbs and flows with Holy and the way people perceive him. If he's in a great mood and very motivating, like, then he's one of the best team owners. When he starts getting frustrated and starts calling people out, it tends to turn a blind eye pretty quickly.
Yeah, I can see that. It's just, I think you hit the nail on the coffin there. It's like, the same situation with Stein, in my opinion. It's like a team owner has to wear all hats, and it's just like, be the center, not be the center of attention, but be the center of the team, be the nucleus, and just, hold it together when it's like, can you hold it together when you need it and not have overreactions? And that's why most of the top two teams, in my opinion, are who they are. ITM doesn't have. You might have the Cowboys. Cowboys so frustrated at the game that he says, I'm retiring. But, take a couple weeks off, figure it out. What they do, they bring him back into the fold. A couple weeks later, they replace him with a good driver, but they still keep him in the fold. They don't just don't release him and say, you're off. We don't care about you no more. They still care to bring him back, and they know his value and loyalty. I also think loyalty is a big factor. I don't know. That's another word. Loyalty. You see it with Spartan. There's a reason why nobody is going. There's a reason why the roster doesn't flip as much as it does, because of loyalty. It's a very loyal. Cobra not leaving. Carrot not leaving. Spartan not leaving. It's just a certain, you come out with new drivers, come out with new blood. It's just, you're loyal. You figure it out, and you try to do the best you can as a team. And that's why the three. All right, that's our last podcast question for the night until we get to our discussion about this point system that we'll talk about, because we have some things to say about that. Why does Truck Series seem more relaxed and respectful compared to the other series, and how do we fix the lack of respect in the other series? I don't know the lack of respect. I think at times it has a lack of respect, but if you go by percentages, I think Premier has had more respectful races than non-respectful races. I think that at times they have respect issues, putting people on walls as this week or whatever. But 7 out of 10 races, it's gonna be a respectful, clean race. We didn't have any issues at Martinsville. That's a place that's, history, not a good track for us with respect-wise. It's a very good race for Premier. That kind of thing. It's one of those that's like, it's just one of those things where Premier has had it at times. They have had their issues. And then NXT is still building is still getting the respect they have. It's a revolving door in NXT of respect and not respect, and people still trying to get to Premier, and then still in NXT and that kind of thing. They're still building that. But I think they have respect. I think they've shown it a lot the last 3 months. Very little issues. It's just, loudmouths always carry more. And trucks had 2 bad races this whole season. It's more relaxed, and it's more relaxed because just the vibe that brings into it. It's the vibe that we wanted it to be. The old ARL, ODRL type of Saturday night feel to it that we started on is what that was going to be, with more developmental than competitive. And that's pretty much what it's been. It's been a less issues when it comes to getting wrecked. It's been, like not blowing up chats. It's more like handle your stuff privately. You can handle it. It's okay. We'll have next week. It's not overly issues. It's not overly, and it's just more laid back. And when Premier is more cutthroat, fast wise, competitive wise, that can ramp up some stuff. NXT's like that as well, because you have drivers who can be Premier level, then you have some drivers who think they're Premier level, and then you have drivers who are really NXT level. And then you have drivers at the bottom who could be probably truck drivers or even ARCA drivers down below, and it's a very weird melting pot mix of unknowns respect-wise. So that's pretty much it. Truck series is more down to earth because the night, the way it's presented, the way it was intended for, and pretty much it. It's it's still a series where you go to and you go on from, as some people are, like a Pumps, like a Hendrick. And I think Hendrick can say it's very down to earth and very fun when it comes to it's to a point where it's very chaotic on a Saturday night at times, but at the end we're like, okay, it was fun. It's a fun race. We're having fun here. I think Hendrick can back me up on that, even though he has had times where it can be really stressful.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
You got a comment on that, Nick? I think we're pretty much on the same page when it comes to why Truck Series is more down to earth type thing.
I agree 100%.
Yep.
Everything you said.
Yep. All right, everybody. I know everybody's here. I know Holy allowed to do some polls. Yesterday I allowed him to do some polls to gauge some things in the series, in the league, and see where things are at. That's why the team thing was very little over the edge to my liking. I told him that. But I deleted one, obviously, because I was like, no, that's gonna be an issue. But they obviously showed what people were interested in and why they feel certain things. And the biggest thing that came from it, in my opinion, was this point system and playoffs, non-playoffs, postseason questions, and full transparency. Where I'm listening, I'm hearing you. If I had it my way, it wouldn't change. I don't think there's a lot of talk about drama because of the playoff system. I don't think it is. I think there's drama that needs to be there for competitive reasons. But the drama we've seen the last 2 weeks were not playoff driven decisions. I think they were race winning decisions. I think the one car was I need to win this race. I need to be this race. It wasn't about getting his teammate driver into the playoffs over somebody else. It wasn't, let me wreck this guy because I need to get my teammate into the finals. It was a split the second decision where it wasn't intentional. It was just an issue. It looks really bad, but I don't think it was a playoff drama issue. This week, the drama is because the 4 drivers were involved, or 2 or 3 drivers were in the top 5 were involved. When I think Carrot was already in the back due to a previous incident, and then Stein was the one who got away with it for the most part. Got an 11th place finish, didn't get a top 10, but was a part of it. I haven't seen his onboard compared to the final lap, so I don't know how much involvement he was. with that finish. But it's one of those things where I don't think that was a. It's only drama because of the playoff implications to it. But in any format, you have that? Yes, because a 3 car would still have the issues of feeling it from everybody else about why he doesn't belong there. And then the top 4 guys, who were all top 4 guys all season, affected in that race. So would that change? No. The playoff did not add to the drama there. Only added because of it being a postseason. So if I had it my way, I wouldn't have changed anything. I won't change anything. It's. I think it's our first full season under this playoff format. I think it's a unique format that nobody else does. I think it's shown and proven itself as we've got it from Nick. You know the name Eric Stepp. Is that his name?
Eric is steep, yeah.
Eric Stepp. He's the one who created this. We even got permission to use it from him. And Nick brought it to me, and we didn't get to use it fully the last season in the Heat 5 because the server shut down, and this was our first full season. And I think it showed how great it was because every top 4 driver from the season was the final 4 driver, with the exception of the Cinderella story of Lefty in the Truck Series, which he had 11 to 12 playoff points, but didn't have a start to be in the top 12 or the top 10. So he was on the outside. I forget. Yeah, outside looking in compared to top 10, and then get bumped a person out, and then got in the next round by a point that he got in the playoff in a tiebreaker from a pole. Did what he had to do to get to the next round and got a Cinderella story going into the final 4. But obviously, it's probably like 20 points behind right now, 25 points. Not looking great for him, but still has a chance.
Not only that, but people forget both me and Impact finished in the top 4 in NXT at the end of the regular season, and we both missed the final 4.
Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those things where it wasn't for me. It wouldn't change, but I'm listening. We're listening. Where we hear you. It's just one of those things where I don't know if people realize how much it would impact them. It would impact the league in general if it was a full chase. Nobody's in this league is contractually obligated to show up weekly. There's still it's still a game at the end of the day. There's no, you can't pass up. You still, family comes first, birthdays come first, vacations come first over a league race. And it's like can't control a Monday night birthday dinner. You can't control a vacation, a cruise. You can't control these certain things that might happen during the playoffs that might cost your playoffs. So when a chase happens and you have that come up, if you have 2 of them come up, your whole season's ruined by that. And then you'll hear it. Then we'll hear it about that saying, man, my season's ruined because I capped up vacation. That's unfair to me. Then you want a sub driver. And then you want this. And you want that. Like, no, you can't have this. You can't have sub drivers to help yourself in a chase situation. No, that's not how it works. The reason there's a chase in real life is because they're contractually obligated to be there weekly. We're not here. That's why a playoff system is perfect for a league, because you have something to fall back on. EXO's the perfect example for a truck series. He was top 4 truck, and he was a top 4 truck in standings going into it. Got his playoff points. Was able to lean back a little bit on his playoff points. Had a cruise vacation to go on from a Sunday to Sunday. I do believe it was. Might have been Saturday to Saturday. I don't remember. So he had to miss one. I think he missed 2 races, and he was able to use a starting park, and he had to clutch up and get a win in one of those rounds to advance to the next round, which he earned. He got a win. Wins should matter a lot. Got the win, advanced to the next round, and able to be in the final 4 now. If that happened in a chase format, his season's gone on a cruise, and he has no incentive to try. Or you should have incentive to try as a team. But obviously, we see it now. People are not incentive to try. People are relying on subs for incentives. There's no push for top two teams pushing. Basically the top two teams are pushing for standings, and everybody else is like falling to the wayside and saying, "All right, we are where we are. We're not doing anything," which is hurting. The only reason we have great attendance right now, is because we allow subs. I think Nick can back me up on that. It's like the only reason we have great attendance. No offense to Zalbel. So Zalbel doesn't show up every week. It's like Savage doesn't show up every week. So contracted drivers are not showing up every week for us. So it hurts. So when a chase happens, you're gonna see that dwindle even more, especially when you have restrictions on subs. That's gonna hurt even more. So you're gonna start showing up at the end of a chase with a championship driver, championship that might be decided a week beforehand, with 12 people in a race, maybe. Luckily we might have 17 to 20 in a Premier Series. So I don't know what people are expecting from a chase. It has its issues. We're listening. We have something, working on something. First is taking away winning you're in for regular season. So no more winning you're in. It's more points based in the regular season. Working on going back to a 10-1 stage points. So, first gets 10 and then 1 by 1 by 1. And then a chase hybrid, playoff hybrid in the postseason, where wins will matter as well. You will still get win in your in for next round, but you won't. But you'll have eliminations every still same eliminations, and then the final four will have a battle to the end. So it's a hybrid. I just don't think everybody's going to. It's not a league situation where we can fully go to a chase. In my opinion, I think Nick can agree. We do. If we had it our way, we wouldn't do it. But we understand the constant want for it. Everybody wants to be like NASCAR and say, "Oh, we want this, we want that." I get that. We get that. It's just we look at it a different way. We look at it as like, okay, we need to be what's best for the league, and status-wise and attendance-wise, and that's why we're fully against just a typical chase. And we're thinking about we're doing a modified type version. I think Nick can explain it more than I can, but that's currently the working plan. But I said to him about getting rid of winning your in the regular season. That's one step I think everybody will be happy about. But you can explain it to him. You can explain it to him more. We're still working on it, so it's not official, but it's like we're still working on it. I know it will upset some people. I know the vote was like 30-5 last time I looked, 26-5 or something like that for a chase system compared to the system we were going to do next season, which is pretty much the same system we had this season, except Premier was cut down to 12. NXT was cut down to 10. I think Trucks was cut down to 10 as well. And ARCA is strictly Winston style, straight regular season points. But I'll hand the floor to you, Nick, if you have anything to say about this, about why, your opinion on the chase and our playoff system.
I think the big thing is you hit the nail on the head. This is a video game, and life is going to come first for a lot of people, myself included. And I think that if we don't want, or if we want something closer to a chase, then I think this proposed different style is closer to that. top 12 in points overall make playoffs, no longer winning you're in, which seems a lot of people have the most issues with is that winning you're in. So I think if we get rid of that going into the playoffs, I think that puts your best 12 drivers for the entire season in the playoffs. And then if we want to go for something similar to the chase, then all of your playoff points that you earned in the regular season get added when the points reset, and then that's it. There won't be a points reset again. Even with eliminations, we won't reset points. So that gives you the chase style where we're not resetting points after every round, but we also still get the eliminations. That makes the playoffs a little more exciting. And we do then reward the win and advance to give those guys at the bottom of the playoff standings a little bit of hope that they can advance, even if they're really far behind because they don't have playoff points or stages or wins during the regular season.
Yep, I understand this might frustrate some people that they really, really want this chase that NASCAR's doing and all that stuff, but for us, it's the best thing we can do. It's the best thing that's for everybody, in our opinion. It's just a league that needs, we understand that everybody wants be different, and have what NASCAR's having, as I said, but it just league needs it to have everybody have a chance, as it's a league where family does come first. Things come up that you out of your control, like I said, baby issues, internet issues, outages, that kind of stuff. That it could cost you, and it could waste. You could go 30. What's our race count right now? I think it's 23 for next season for Premier. You can go 22 weeks battling your ass off for a championship, deserving for the championship, and having one race where your wife planned a vacation, your internet is out, and then there goes 23 weeks of nothing. So, and that's that's not your control. You can say racing incidents are more than a internet outage, in my opinion. So it's one of those things where you might wreck, and it might cost you some points, just like this week. But that's more in control than outside influence when you're not a contractually obligated driver. And you're not getting paid to do this, even though top 3 gets payout, and we do reward top 4 in points. Blah blah blah. We put money into the league, but nobody's really getting paid to drive for people, and there's no real contract. It's all formality. It's all for it's all for the look of it. It's all for fun. We do sign contracts. We do it for fun. But at the end of the day, it's not a real contract. Somebody can say, I don't want to drive for you anymore, and go to another team, and they're not contractually obligated to stay on that team.
Except at ILM.
Okay, I knew that was coming. But yes, that's what we got for you. I understand the issue about it. I understand that there's backlash, but it's just not going to change for us. I understand the one for it. I understand the saying we don't listen to the drivers, which I think we listen to the drivers at all. I mean, you voted 2 months ago to keep the playoffs the way it is, and then an overreaction poll a day after a Kansas race, then it becomes 30-2. I'm like, all right, I understand, but I gave you a vote 2 months ago about it, and it was voted on pretty much the opposite. So I get it. I understand. Everybody wants to be NASCAR, but let's relax a little bit. You want to yell at somebody? My DMs are open. And that's all I can really say about that. We listen to you there. We understand. We're changing some of it. We're helping some things. But I think it's a good meet in the middle. I think all admins agree that it's a good meet in the middle here. About okay, they want chase. We still want playoffs type situation. There's still storylines to go in the playoffs. There's still this here, and there's still this. There's still that. and I think it's the best case scenario. And happy to at least work on it and see what the final outcome is when it comes to the full announcement coming in the coming days or weeks. We do, but let's make this end this fast with a little Phoenix talk here. I won't make a big deal. I won't make a big full-on preview here. Phoenix is a great track. I expect it to be a great race in all 3 series. Hendrick, how are you feeling about your playoff run so far, and how do you feel about Phoenix?
I would say my playoff run's been okay so far. I'm still looking for that first win. I've really done better with the 2 series that I'm not in the playoffs because I've learned a lot more. But Phoenix, I'm a little bit skeptical on. I think it's really going to depend on if I'm using the wheel or not. But hopefully I could just keep that up until Homestead.
There you go. I'll start with you to pick for the truck series because Brennan's not here. I don't know who did he pick in our thing? EXO, I think he picked. Did he pick EXO?
Surprisingly. Yeah, he didn't pick someone that was on his team, surprisingly.
Shit, because he didn't have time to think about it, probably. That's probably what it was. And then he picked somebody who's not even racing anymore the rest of the season in NXT, but we'll wait for that. Let me go to his real fast. Where the heck is the broadcast chat? That's right, yep. So Brent's pick is EXO, and his dark horse is Tony Flakes for trucks. Andrew, who do you got for trucks?
I'm actually going to pick one of his teammates this week. I'm going to pick Lefty because he does good with the short tracks. I think Phoenix would apply for that.
Yep.
Brent had a really good dark horse pick.
He did, I think.
Let me see. I got to look at everyone in trucks. Go here. That's not what I was wanting. This was what I was wanting. Okay. And then for my dark horse pick, go on ahead and give me. I would say iTrip again, but probably not. I want to make it original. I want to pick Click this week in the 74. Okay. I think he's got speed. I think he can be a top 5-10 truck.
All right, I like it. I'm gonna go. My main pick is going to be. Oh, this is tough because there's a lot of good drivers and trucks that could win at Phoenix. Let me go look at the. Roster because I don't even think this might be a track where I pick a dark horse for a main pick because I feel like it. Actually, I'm gonna go Georgia Dog, my main pick. And then I'm gonna go my dark horse is going to be Doc Nanners. I really think I think Phoenix is his best track and trucks, and I really think he's good at these short tracks. And I think he can really surprise people getting his momentum up for next season. I know I think it's a real homer pick for me because obviously my driver for next season and then my driver for next season, my dark horse. But I really think it helps them both to be picked at Phoenix. I think they really do great at Phoenix. Nick, I'll give you one pick here. Who is your pick to win trucks here? I set you up perfectly here, so I hope you read it. Hopefully you set you up perfectly here. Do it.
I'm gonna go ahead and take Pumps.
Okay.
I think he's obviously won a couple races already, and I feel like the short tracks kind of play into his skill set a little bit. I think he'll be pretty fast for Phoenix. My dark horse is, and I'm picking him as a dark horse because he hasn't won yet. I'm picking Hendrick.
That was my setup. Perfect. That was my setup for you.
I know it was.
Like you gotta pick Hendrick. All right, let's move on.
Hendrick's head. He's got this.
Yeah. Let's move on to NXT. It's a little more different than one of his trucks. Trucks is more of a little bottom lane type of track when it comes to trucks. You move up to the top. You move up the lane later in the run when it comes to 1 and 2. But when you go to NXT, it's more of a top line type. You can get top line type track. It's still short. It's still I would consider it a short track. I know it's not a real short track, but I still consider it a short track as much as you're breaking or letting off points and those stuff. But Hendrik, could you have for NXT Phoenix here at the final four, second race of the final four?
Well,
It's not
if
going to
I,
be Blue Star because he ain't going to be there.
yeah, I know it's not going to be Tyreek either because I don't think he's going to be there this week either.
Nope.
Let me see. I got to remember, who did I pick? I think I picked NLS last week. Now to think about it.
Yeah, you did.
So I'm going to go with the other guy who I think will be a contender. I think I'll pick Tata Head.
Okay.
He's the closest one to Tyreek. So if he really wins this weekend, that's going to make that championship fight a lot closer than what even Tyreek would expect.
Yeah.
Because from what I've heard, he's been really worried about NLS, but I think Tata Head is going to be the one that could pose an issue for him going into Homestead. So I'm going to pick him for that.
Okay.
And then for my dark horse pick this week, I'm looking through all the names here just to make sure I get someone newer. Go on ahead and put me down for Banjo this week.
Okay.
Banjo wasn't one that was like extremely fast at Kansas. He was like a top 10-ish, top 12-ish car. He hasn't really had the last, good few races that he had been looking for. He didn't even race the last short track, now that I can remember things correctly. But going back to a similar track for Phoenix, which I believe Martinsville is a good example. He didn't race there either. So just because of the lack of past data I would have for him, I think he's going to be a good dark horse pick. He may do better than what we think.
Okay. I'm gonna go the easy route here. I'm gonna say NLS. I think NLS is very, very good at Phoenix from what I've seen in his previous races here and other leagues. And then my dark horse is going to be. Oh, this is a tough one. Let me go look at this as you just did. I'm gonna go. Actually, yeah, my dark horse is gonna be Impact this week. It's going. I think old man can do it finally. I think it's his time is up. I think he finally can get it done. Nick, who do you have?
My main pick is going to be Copper.
Okay.
I think this track fits right in his wheelhouse, very similarly to Gateway. Both him and Blue Star were very quick there.
Yeah.
And then my dark horse pick is going to be a guy who dominated Kansas this past week and just came up short. I'm taking Salesman.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yep, he's getting eyes. A lot of eyes on him lately. It's a good one. I would like that personally. Assolable has a pick here, and it says he's picking Iron Man for NXT. So shout out Iron Man. I don't think I didn't get a message from Premier if he sent me one. No. But yeah, he said Iron Man for NXT, which I agree with as well. All right, let's go to Premier. I know it's a lot of negativity towards Premier, but they're still the best of the best in my opinion. Still little assholes, but I think they're gonna get it done. They never have two bad races in a row. I can't consider Vegas a better. It was a drama last lap at Vegas, but I think Vegas is a good race in general. So they never have two bad races in a row. I think Kansas would be considered a bad race. But Hendrik, who do you have for Premier Phoenix?
Premier Phoenix. That's an
Mhm.
interesting one. I don't want to go with the obvious favorite this week, and I'm not going to pick Cobra from last week. If anything, I'm going to pick the guy that was just in the center of controversy. I'm going to go
Okay.
with Sterlo for my main pick this week.
Okay.
I think he finally gets his head on straight and wins, and it sets him up to try and get by Stein for Homestead. And then for my dark horse for Monday, I will pick Lined Cone. He did get a
Okay.
top 5 last week. Um, he's actually had a pretty good consistent streak of top 10 finishes lately. If I'm not mistaken, he's been in the top 10 in the last 3 races, so I expect that to at least go up to 4 in a row.
Very true. Very true. I'm gonna go. Cobra is my main pick, and I'm gonna go. Dark horse. I'm gonna go. K-Therms is my dark horse. I picked him a lot this season, but I just think he's around the corner sooner or later. I just think, the right strategy comes along, it's gonna be perfect for him. And yeah. Brent picked who did Brent pick? Llamas for his dark horse. And who was his main pick? Stein? No. Who was it? It was Shocks. Shocks was his main pick. And then Llamas is his dark horse, which is a very good pick. Llamas has been very good in my opinion. And Shocks is obviously very good getting his first one a couple weeks ago. Nick, who do you have for your Phoenix Premier picks here?
See, I'm in a tough spot here because 2 of my drivers haven't been picked. Both of them are in the final 4.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna go with the one that had the confidence and the balls to say he's adding his name to the champions list
Okay.
in 2 weeks, and I'm gonna take Carrot to win
Okay.
in Phoenix. And then my dark horse is Spartan. He's put a lot of
Okay.
time into practice each and every week, and I
Mhm.
think if he does it again for Phoenix, I think he can find his way at the front.
Agreed. That was gonna be my second dark horse pick, and I thought about it, but K-Therms I took. It's all picks. Ding for Premier. Good job, producer pick. Great pick for Ding. If he'll get really upset if he wins 2 weeks in a row and not in the final 4, I'll tell you that right now. He's a great driver, but if he misses by 1, that'll be really upsetting to him. But everybody, thanks for listening. I understand drama filled. Sometimes it gotta happen. Sometimes you gotta talk through it. Thanks for listening to the state of the league. I understand it might not be the greatest news in the world when it comes to point system and stuff, and hearing your name be looked at in a negative light or certain things. But we do it out of love. Don't take it to heart. We believe in everybody here. We believe in every driver. We're growing by the day. We're not 199 people at the last check, and it's growing by the day. So we're almost at that 200 plateau. So it's going to be, ARC is getting bigger, Trucks is getting bigger, NXT is getting bigger, Premiere is people knocking on that door to get a Premiere. But let's just get to our check. Let's look ourselves in the mirror. Let's get back to the basics. Get back to having fun. Figure it out. NXT has, Truck has all season. Premiere, let's get back to what we do best. And do the best series we can be. And I believe in y'all. And let's do it. And shout out to Solo for producing on a Wednesday night. I know it was a random Wednesday, but I wanted to get this out and talked about before it became a mute point here. But appreciate everybody. Thanks for co-owner Iron Man for appearing as well for the state of the league. Hendrick, last notice. Thank you for showing up. I know Brent couldn't make it. I won't bash Brent too much because I know it's late I know it was a random Wednesday to talk about this, but appreciate him for sending his picks in. But thanks for everybody listening. Thanks for everybody watching. I'll see y'all next week when episode 75. Hopefully we talk some good things about Phoenix and then preview our championship race at Homestead, and we'll have a better clear vision of the Final Four playoff point situation going into the championship after this week. So it's going to be fun. I really believe so. I really think we get back on track, and looking forward to it this weekend. Arca gets back on track this weekend for a dress rehearsal as well, and really looking forward to that. So we got four races this week, and really looking forward to that. But appreciate everybody listening. Shout out everybody, and talk to y'all soon, and we'll see y'all next week. And we're out.